up, everyone? Welcome back to the Squanch. This is Wisecrack's official Rick and Morty podcast. I'm Michael Burns, as always, joined by my friend and yours, Ryan Haley. Ryan, how are you?
Well, howdy, everybody. Sorry I missed you last week, but I'm glad to be back today talking to Max.
I know. Whoa, we didn't even introduce him yet. Spoiler alert.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, spoiler alert. Dang it.
No, I love
this
it.
up already.
But we're also joined today. If you were around last week, you know that we had a special guest, Kari Walgren, who is a voice actor on Rick and Morty. We got a really fun poll this time around. We have Max Pauson, who is a character designer, who, of course, has worked on Rick and Morty, designed characters in season 2 and 3, lead characters designer on season 3, currently at WB working on Harley Quinn, a very good animated series. One of my personal favorite entries in the DCEU, so very excited about that. And also runs his own thing, BAM Animation, has a YouTube channel. We'll talk about this later. But before we say anything else, Max, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you guys so much. I've been a huge fan of your channel forever, so this is just awesome for me.
Awesome.
Wow. That's no one's ever this nice to us.
Yeah.
So this is kind of disconcerting.
This is new.
Normally people are like, after the end, they're like, what is it? What is this for Vox? And we're like, no.
Nah, I'm plugged in, baby. And let me just give a big fat disclaimer up front. I am a Ronin samurai. I am a character designer who works on lots of productions, so I technically do not represent the views of Rick and Morty, Green Portal Productions, Adult Swim, and Warner Media. The nature of working in TV is you work seasonally, so you work on something here, you work on something there for 6 months, and it's fast paced. So I'm happy to come on here and talk about my experiences on Rick and Morty. And just my experiences as a character designer in general. So ask away.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this. I think, we probably all know a little bit about animation, but not a ton. I'm not an animator. Ryan, are you secretly an animator?
Yeah, kind of. But
I thought so,
no.
yeah.
I mean, I animate in Photoshop and After Effects every day of my life for what I'm doing, but it's very lo-fi compared to, I assume, the stuff Max over here is doing.
I'm going to ask this question as a dummy then, Max. What does it mean to be a character designer? I think often I think of like animator as this big umbrella concept, but can you tell us a little bit? Just talk to me like I'm a dummy, because I am. What does it mean to do character design work?
Yes. So a character designer is going to create the actors. We do a number of jobs. We create the way they look. We create what they wear. And we do special poses, like if somebody's body gets cut open or if there's a weird angle or something like that. So character designers are going to draw based on the script that the showrunners have already written. So in an ideal situation, as a character designer, I would get the script for the episode and what's called a radio play, which is something which, just like what it sounds like, a 1940s radio play where all the voice actors have done all the voice acting. They've read the script all the way through. There's sound effects, there's music and everything. And I can listen to that and try to draw what the characters look like based on that. And then, because it's a production, I'm going to be making stuff that we need to basically make puppets out of, because it's a little bit more modern than the old school Disney times. So now we use a program called Toon Boom Harmony for Rick and Morty, but many different programs are used nowadays. But that is something where you would create a rig, and you've got a library of facial expressions, hands. You can move their joints around. So in order to do that, as a character designer, I have to, once the character is approved, draw it from every angle, and that's called a turnaround. So yes, being a character designer is designing characters based on the radio play and then prepping these designs to be animated.
Sounds so hard.
That's very difficult. And so you are actually physically, like, let's say Morty, for instance, you would draw Morty from every angle. And I guess, a lot of people's initial question would be, how does it stay so consistent? It seems like it's from one mind or one person's hand, but really that's not possible. I assume a ton of people are working on all these characters. How does that process work on a big show like this?
Yeah. So there's lots of different character designers, and oftentimes when I hear young people, they say, I want to get my own style. I want to learn what my style is. Like, what's my style? But actually, the character designers that work in television a lot are good chameleons. They're able to sort of see a style and be able to replicate it perfectly, and then even play within that style. So, I mean, there are rules that we have to follow. There is like a Bible for any show that you work on. Like, okay, eyes are drawn this way. If this is a little bit too pushed, so we want to rein it in. A show like Rick and Morty is what's called primetime animation, which falls in the category of Family Guy, The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers. The style itself is a little bit more grounded. It's the proportions are tight. They're not stretching and squashing the way that like the Looney Tunes might. It's very tight and precise. So it's a certain type of drawing that you have to do that's not that expressive, but very, very appealing to look at the end of the day.
Nice. Well, I wanted to back up just for a second. How did you end up doing this? I'm curious about like your journey in terms of, what you were doing that led to the place where now you are designing characters all over this gosh darn town. So if you would so indulge us by basically live writing your own Wikipedia page in front of us right now.
I can't wait for my own Wikipedia page. Somebody, Wikipedia,
someone
watching,
make this.
Hit me up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm setting you up, everyone. So starting right now, just transcribe everything Max says and get to work on his Wikipedia page.
Well, I'm from San Francisco initially. If you can see this hippie crap behind me, I am born of the hippies. I'm born from that generation, and I came out here in 2008 to go to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. Now, college, I have mixed feelings about, but what it did was I bought some connections to the industry. The school is in LA. So when I went to the school, there wasn't necessarily people who were like going to give me jobs immediately, but my peers were all successful, so they were able to get me into things. So for a number of years, I was working in video games at a company called Disney Interactive, which is gone now. Disney Interactive is gone, but I did work there for a while, and it was right when they had just bought Marvel and Star Wars, and I was trying to like come up with like game ideas and just work kind of in an internship capacity with game designers at Disney Interactive. And then after that, I was able to work at Titmouse, which is a production studio that does a lot of Adult Swim shows, which is an awesome studio. They do Midnight Gospel and lots of other cool stuff. They're famous for Metalocalypse. And
I probably saw you at the Smash Party once.
Yes, probably. My friend was working on an animated Community episode called G.I. Jeff, which was being done at Starburns Industries, which is a company that did Rick and Morty for the first 2 seasons. And it's a production house. So I went in there to visit my buddy for lunch one day, and I had my portfolio, and I went over to where the art director was sitting, and I was like, oh my God, oops, I dropped this all over the floor. What am I going to do about this? And I was able to make friends with the art director, sort of. It was a ballsy move. I would not recommend anyone doing that. But luckily, the show was kind of unheard of. It was airing. The first season was airing at that time. So I was able to slide in like Indiana Jones, grab my hat right before it just like took off. So that got me into character design. And once you have like a good show under your belt, like Rick and Morty, you're able to get more jobs in the industry. Like people are like, oh, you did that? Well, I guess you can do other things, which I could do all along. But Rick and Morty really helped.
Oh, it's amazing. And so I was going to ask if you were a fan of the show before you started working on it, but like you just said, it had just started airing at that point. So hopefully this is okay to ask. I mean, in working on it, have you become like a fan of the show? Is it a show you liked working on? Maybe I'm setting you up to say something problematic, so I'm so sorry for that right off the bat. But yeah, what's your relationship to the show in general? Like as both a character designer and just like a dude that watches stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I Love Rick and Morty. It is so good. When it was airing, it was when they were airing the pilot on Instagram. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's the first time I ever saw the show, was when they aired 15-second all over the Adult Swim. I mean, Adult Swim is brilliant. They do so many things, but they all over the Adult Swim Instagram, they uploaded 15-second clips of Rick and Morty, of the whole pilot. So I was watching Rick and Morty 15 seconds at a time. Like, I must watch what happens next.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's amazing. I've always loved science fiction, as many people have, and I was a huge fan of Futurama. So I mean, a fan who watches TV can clearly see that a show like Bob's Burgers and a show like Rick and Morty is going to be extremely different to work on. Bob's Burgers is a family in a small town, you know, with a little restaurant, and that's kind of about it. But Rick and Morty, you're hopping to a different dimension. You're hopping to a different solar system. There's a new race of aliens that have been living there for 1,000 years, and then Rick kills all of them and hops to the next dimension 5 seconds later. So it is really, really, really fun to work on, as much as it is a lot of work to work on. But with any animation production, I kind of liken it to childbirth, something I've never experienced myself, but it is, you go through the labor pains, and at the end you have a beautiful baby to look at, and Rick and Morty certainly is that. I can definitely say one of my favorite episodes to work on was the Parasite episode in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the process of how close are you working to, you know, Justin Roiland, Dan Harmon? Like, do you interact with them that often, or is that more like a, you know, they kind of give you at the beginning of the season, like, all right, here's we go, and then go off, or is that like a close collaboration?
Well, on any production, the showrunner, it varies how much they would be involved. But I mean, I think that the brilliance of Justin Roiland, and I've worked with him on many projects, is that he really trusts the people who work for him, and he just wants to get excited, like almost like childlike excitement for like the stuff that he's working on, and like that enthusiasm trickles down to like everyone. So, you know, he'll be like, oh my God, this episode, it's so funny. I have this idea. It's going to be this way. And I'm just going to ping pong back and forth to get notes to him. So he's more in the art director capacity, whereas I believe that Dan is more in the writing capacity. So, yeah.
Got it. Me and Jared actually, the guy who started Wisecrack, you know, we had a teacher in college, James Fino. I think he had something to do with Starburns.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. Yeah. Anyway.
Good guy.
Yeah, really fun teacher. Anyway, Mike, what's your next question?
Oh, my next question is, when we consider the Iran-Contra affair. No, so something, because we like to stalk people before they come on, we saw on your Twitter, you have a tweet where you get into the design of Vance Maximus from Vindicators 3, The Return of Worldender. I don't know, like maybe could you talk us through like the process of designing a character like that and taking it from, I know you talked about this before, like getting the radio play and building off there. So I don't know, could you maybe like in that instance talk about how that came to be, like how you built that character out? And then once again, it's on your Twitter. We'll make sure we give everyone your Twitter by the end and everyone go see that. But yeah, I would love to hear about that if you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, what a funny name that guy has. Maximus, what a freak.
I was going to say, we liked everything about it except the last name of that character.
It's funny,
what's up with that? Like, did you get to name the character? Like, how did...
No.
Okay.
No. The writers have done that a couple times without any of us knowing, and it's just a pleasure to see something like that. Actually, the background lead at the time was named Vance, so they just kind of combined me and him. And if you saw this season, there's like an anime girl named Kendra, and she's the current character lead, and she's awesome, and it looks just like her. So yeah, I mean, a character like that, they basically, if I remember correctly, they would say, hey, this is sort of like a Boba Fett type character, and mixed with Star-Lord, I think, from Guardians of the Galaxy. And we just kind of made a couple like designs based on that Now, it was a little bit different being a character lead than it was character designer, which I think a lot of people who have transitioned into management have probably seen themselves, because you're like, oh my God, you're so good at this thing. I want to make you the king of it, and you can never do it again. So like, I did get to draw quite a bit on the third season, but I had to learn that it was more about encouraging other people. So every character on season 3 was just a team effort. We had 5 people on it. We need like all hands on deck to design the characters for every episode. Yeah, everybody took a stab at it, and they just picked one, and then we did a turnaround, and then he dies in 30 seconds. So
that is fun. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say that one episode you brought up, the Total Recall one, where with all the parasites. I mean, that's that's the big Mr. Poopy Butthole intro, right? Was that his first appearance?
Yeah.
Were you? So yeah, did you work on Mr. Poopy Butthole? And if so, what was you like when the first time you were introduced to this character you're going to be designing?
I didn't draw that. Justin drew that. That is a Justin drawing. Like that he just was just like kind of like this with a fucking top hat. Yeah, do that. And then we have to figure out how to turn that around and make it sort of look like it fits in the world.
There's so many people in that episode at the end. By the end, when you see the full wide shot of all the characters, I mean, I bet that was like a character designer's wet dream there.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, they were just like, the room is filled with people. And so, to be honest, designing a main character is less fun than designing what's called incidental characters. So designing incidental characters is just like anyone who might appear in the background. So you really get to be creative during that part. But a main character will have a lot of notes back and forth from the art director and stuff. Well, he needs to look more like this. He needs to look more like this. So, yeah.
That's fun. And just to ask, because once again, we saw the Vance Maximus character from the Vindicators episode. Any world where you're going to be involved in the spinoff series?
Oh, no. I don't think so.
He's on Harley Quinn, dude.
Yeah, I'm on Harley Quinn.
It's seasonal. I didn't know if there's a hiatus and they're going to headhunt him for a few weeks. I don't know how the biz works. Well, I have a question for you, and this could be, it's not Rick and Morty specific. It could be about that show, but has there ever been a show you worked on where you designed a character and you just thought, yes, like this is it. This is the character. And then you go down the line and it gets cut, or that character gets axed from the episode or something.
Oh yeah, that's a tale as old as time with every character designer on any production.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it's for the good of the show. One of my good friends is named Justin Noel, and he's a character designer on the show. And I remember early on Rick and Morty, we were asked to design some Mortys that might be in the Citadel. And he had designed this insane Morty that had his body, it was a Morty head, and then his body was a cage, and there was another Morty inside of it. And I was like, this is the most creative, wild David Lynch idea I've ever seen, but it's so distracting. You cannot put that in the background, and you would take away from the writing at that point. So I think that there's a lot of shows where character designers are really creative people, and they want to do like the most crazy idea, but you really have to serve the script. The script is what's key. And you know, if you have any slight thing, it's chemistry, basically. Getting a laugh on a show is chemistry. You know, like you have to add a tiny drop of this and a little bit of timing, and 1 second too early, and it's not funny. So if there's any sort of distractions from that, it would ruin the laugh. So, yeah.
Wow. Ryan, I'll ping pong to you if you have a question right now.
Well, Max, I know you're a mole on the inside. You got somebody knows the definitive answer of is the Beth we're following a clone? And is this season the origin story of Evil Morty? Max, spill the beans right now. We got you here.
Oh my God, I am not your mole on the inside. I have not worked on the show since season 3, but I am a huge fan of it, and I'm waiting just like you guys for the next episode, and I'm hoping it's about Evil Morty.
Wow,
me too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
everyone who's just listening to this in the video, Max is making a lot of weird hand gestures and moving his eyes in a suggestive way right now. I do not know.
Blink twice if she's a clone. Blink twice if she's a clone.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, so here's the question for you. Then you have worked on a lot of stuff. You're currently working on some really cool stuff as well. What led you then? Because, I think a lot of us, right? So myself, Ryan, we work in the YouTube space, and we probably think to ourselves, the day that someone lets us work on a show, we're never going on YouTube again. We're kissing it goodbye. And enjoying lunches on studio lots. No, not true. I love YouTube. But you're in the right case where you have worked on so many amazing television shows, but you are also the proud owner and host of a YouTube channel, so which is called BAM Animation, if I got that right. I know that it's
correct.
Yeah. So if you don't mind telling us, how did BAM Animation come about?
Well, guys, you got to be 3 steps ahead, and I work in a studio, but you guys have made it. Like YouTube, the clout. I know it might not have like this crazy amount of money, but like the clout of YouTube, more people know YouTube than they do certain shows, like YouTube for the next up and coming generation is going to be massive. So
yeah.
And it already is. I mean, I spend more time watching YouTube than I do Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and luckily, as an animator, we get to draw all day, so we can just put on podcasts. We can just put on Wisecrack, which I recommend anybody. It's a great drawing.
Hell yeah!
It's something to put on
we
while
didn't
you're
pay
drawing.
him to say
great.
this, guys. We did not. This is no under the table deal. It was genuine, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. But yes, my YouTube channel. You, dear viewer watching at home, can send artwork to me and my friend Brent Knoll, who is currently the prop lead on Rick and Morty.
Oh, cool.
And we will redraw your art, and we may even animate it. And we will give you a little bit of educational stuff about animation, because our YouTube channel is kind of like the Bob Ross for a more digital artist. We really just want to encourage people to make their own stuff, because, any Hollywood production is still a production line. You're still a small part of a bigger thing. But when you make something and put it on YouTube, it's just for you, and you get to experience every part of it, and it's really, really, really rewarding. So if you guys would like your art redrawn, come to BAM Animation and check out the channel.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's an awesome idea, honestly. Like, I like the mission that you just described. That's really cool.
Yeah. Do you have any like favorite or weirdest thing you've ever redrawn, or a thing you've been submitted that you were the most surprised by?
I mean, our first episode was real strange. Well, okay, this is the internet, baby. I mean, if you guys want to see Sonic the Hedgehog porn, I got a whole folder full of submitted artwork. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So,
no pun intended.
Yeah, we have. I think that's probably the funnest thing, and it's just for me and my partner. Just all the artwork that gets submitted to us. But yeah, I mean, the very first episode we did, we redrew the Kennedy assassination, but everyone in it was frogs. It was really strange.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to see that immediately.
Yeah. But I mean, some of our better episodes are ones where we teach about clean line art, and we teach about what character design is. So check them out.
No, for sure. And I truly think we have a lot of people in our audience that do make stuff and want to make stuff and are inspired by this type of work. So definitely check that out if you can. If you want to learn stuff, putting it out there for free, that's way cheaper than going to an expensive college.
Yes, and we don't even have sponsors. So,
oh my God, the dream.
But it's really just for fun, We are funding it.
Talking about the nuts and bolts of how modern shows like this are animated, because I'm still a little ignorant on it. Like, I know South Park, for instance. Yeah, they write and animate the whole fucking show in 6 days. This is the notorious legend. But I know that these shows take significantly longer, and it's kind of, you're shipping a lot of the animation overseas and stuff. And it's like, I never got why the disconnect there, or like is there ever going to be a day? Are there literally people? I know you said that it's not using the Disney, one page at a time thing, but are people literally drawing Rick and Morty frame by frame still, or is it a computer and stuff? And why can't most shows get like on the South Park schedule? Is it just because that show is so cheaply and lo-fi to animate. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at that show. It's really simple style. You know, you're not gonna be able to make anime in 6 days. So they're able to do that, and it's
God damn
still
it.
a nightmare. It's still a nightmare. You know, as lo-fi as that is. But any production, it does use a lot of overseas animator. It's kind of like a pyramid. At the top, for the amount of people that are needed. So at the top would be, you know, writers. Like, you don't need that many writers to write a show. And then more people are needed for design. So props, which is like anything the character holds, any vehicle they drive is a prop. Backgrounds, they have to draw every background. Character design, and then color, which is really underappreciated, but like one of the best things is like when you see your line art go into color. So that's a chunk of people. And then you're going to need even more people to basically do what's called storyboarding, which is roughly draw the episode out like a framework for the animators with lots of poses, you know, like everything. It's just basically just a rough cut of the animated thing drawn in sort of a messy style, black and white.
An animatic.
And the animatic is what you make at the end. And you need a big chunk of people to do that. And those people work the hardest. Like, storyboard artists are the unsung heroes of animation. And then at the very bottom is actual animators, people who are moving frame by frame and trying to get the motion right of someone's arm. And that's why a lot of that is done overseas, or in the case of many productions, actually not overseas, just above us in Canada. Because they're in the same time zone as us, and they speak English. So yeah, a lot of stuff is done in Canada now. The actual compositing, where they take all the elements that I just spoke of that are usually made in LA, including the animatic and the storyboard, and they send that over there, and they say, now, you know, composite this all together, move all these characters around, add little blinking lights, I was saying earlier that we would use puppets, but they do have to draw a lot of like special poses. Like if Morty's hand is in the front, or if there's an odd angle looking up or down at them, they have to draw quite a bit.
Wow. Can I ask you, like, so I know this is probably a question that there's not a fixed answer to, but in general, vague as possible, you know, the head of the animation team gets a script. How long are we talking before we're getting a full episode?
It depends on the production.
Yeah.
Again, like the style and stuff.
Let's say Rick and Morty.
Yeah, let's say. Okay. I mean, a show, something that's that big, might take 6 months to make an episode, but they overlap all the stuff. So it takes, you know, they'll all come together in like 10 months. They'll get multiple teams going on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, animation isn't cheap. And yeah, it's just extremely hard. And it's weird because we've been doing it since the 30s, so you'd expect people to figure it out by now, but it's extremely laborious process. You'd be surprised how much like Scotch tape and glue is used to make something. Like it's very pieced together. You just have to think like, oh, when like someone's hand moves into frame, you know, it's going to be closer, so the lines need to be the same like width as the lines in the background. They can't be thicker, or they can be thicker, and that's like a stylistic choice. And there's just a lot of tiny little things that you're trying to figure out constantly.
Well, my main takeaway thus far is that animating, it sounds so hard. It's such a hard process. So kids, if you have dreams, just be an actor. That's so much easier. Most of them aren't very good. You just like have to memorize a few sentences at a time. And
Michael Burns.
It's, you know what?
Get kids' dreams.
Get Brad Pitt on here, and I'll tell him to his face. So I have a question for you. I know we gotta wrap up soon, but Max, I'm wondering, as someone who makes really cool stuff, what are some things you've been watching, or even like listening to, or reading recently, or playing, that are things that get you excited, that make you want to make cool shit, that kind of, I don't know, inspire you to do stuff?
Yeah, this is a great question. Wow, thanks for asking. I mean, I have been a fan of the comic book Invincible since I was 11 years old, and I'm sure you guys who are out there, some of your audience has probably seen the show, and they really, really killed it on it. And if you want to see incredible drawings, incredible writing, incredible story, read Invincible. It's so good. Robert Kirkman is like the genius of our time. And, you know, I went to the Getty yesterday, which is a museum here in LA. And to be honest, that was pretty inspiring. because there's people trying to figure out how a human face looks in the 14th century and put it on paper and draw it, and you get to look right at it, and it's just super inspiring to see that. And you can see that they also have trouble drawing hands, which I struggle with all the time. So
that's amazing. But I think that's such good advice too for anyone who's working on stuff, whether you want to design games or work in animation or write funny things. Stuff like going to museums or doing things that are outside the medium you work in are really important. But once again, we were asking you for advice, not me. What do I know? Ryan, before we wrap up, do you get any final questions for our new hero, Max?
I was just gonna talking about that and the inspiration question. Have you guys seen Painting with John yet?
Yes.
By any chance?
The John Lurie show?
Like Painting. Yeah, the John Lurie show. Yeah.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got did Fishing with John, who's also in a bunch of Jim Jarmusch movies. If y'all should go check it out. To me, it was inspiring because it's another lo-fi effort, but like something I feel like I could make myself. So just it's like he's trying to do his own Bob Ross kind of thing, just filming himself in his house. But to me, I don't know, it was really fun.
Yeah,
that's all I had.
No,
I didn't have another question.
I love that series, and I think if people are listening to this and they're still like, "Who the hell is that?" He was in a couple Anthony Bourdain episodes because they were buds.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And he popped up in the recent Bourdain documentary with some fun snark at the beginning. So that's a fun
awesome.
rec.
Art is really hard to make, like you guys were saying, but you just have to get used to being a machine that makes bad art. Just finish things. That's the key. Just finish terrible stuff. Look at what you've finished and go, ugh. But after you finish, like, let's say one thing a month for 12 months, you'll have a body of work to look at, and you'll be able to say, hey, I'm actually pretty strong at doing this, and I need to improve in this. So finishing things is the skill that you can work out. It's a muscle. And I recommend that anybody who wants to make anything, just work on the muscle of completion.
Wow, you're the best guest ever because you answered a question that we haven't asked yet, which I was going to ask, which is like, what's a piece of advice you'd give to a creative person? I feel like there it is. That's amazing. So before you go, then, everyone's now rewinding to listen to that advice again because it was so good. They're writing it down. Someone's adding it to your Wikipedia page. But we know where we can watch your work. People can check out seasons 2 and 3 of Rick and Morty. They can watch Harley Quinn right now. Which once again is good. I'm not the biggest DC guy, and I really like that show. But where else can they find you and your work on the internet or in public places, grocery stores, wherever you want to tell them to go?
Yes, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Maximus Quack, quack like a duck makes. And I just want to throw one more thing on that list, which is a show that I just wrapped up on called awesome. 10-Year-Old Tom. It will be on HBO this September, and the showrunner is a guy who had a cult following with an HBO show called Life and Times of Tim, and I am so excited for this show. I haven't been this excited for a show like since Rick and Morty. So when 10-Year-Old Tom drops on HBO in September, you guys should definitely check it out. And thank you for letting me plug on your beautiful platform.
Oh my god!
Thank you for coming.
Of course, I used to love Live in Times of Tim, so I didn't know that dude is still making stuff. That's awesome.
Yes.
And then how about if people want to find your YouTube channel where they can both be entertained, inspired, and educated? Where do they do that?
Yes, you go to youtube.com and you type in BAM animation. You can also just type in character design, and we're like the 4th video, or clean line art, and I think we're the first, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, go subscribe to that. There's no reason you shouldn't. If you're listening to this, you got a YouTube account. You subscribe to things. Go subscribe to that channel.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, truly, Max, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome for us to get to chat to someone who's worked on a bunch of the shows we like so much and learn more about what you do. And we appreciate you just sharing that with us.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. We will be back, I think, in a couple weeks when the show picks up again. So check back with the Squanch soon. We'll be here for you, we promise. But we hope you're enjoying these amazing interviews done in the meantime. So for Max, I'm Michael. This is the show. Ryan, any final words or thoughts?
Yeah, from Hollywood, California. This has been the Squanch.